When the head honcho of NFL Inside Information speaks, you listen. As the trade deadline is fast approaching and the Bills need to make a trade, ESPN's Adam Schefter has dropped a bombshell report of a large list of candidates that could be available at the trade deadline and has some insight as to what might be going on here in the NFL over the next month. We're going to break down that report in just a moment, but first, make sure you are subscribed to the Bills Breakdown. This is a little bit for new viewers of the channel here. I have a challenge for the Bills Mafia out there who wants free, informative, entertaining Bills content every single day. The most subs we've gained on a video in the channel's history is 59 new subscribers. On today's show, I'm challenging you guys. Can we beat it? Can 60 new members of the Mafia hit that subscribe button for free Bills content every day here on YouTube? Adam Schefter with this, saying that candidates that NFL front offices, executives, and coaches believe could be available ahead of this year's trade deadline. Now, there's been a couple of trades going on already. We saw Joe Flacco beat the Pittsburgh Steelers on primetime because the Bengals needed a QB bad. Well, the Bills need a couple of positions bad as well. And there's a lot of teams out there that are looking to be buyers at this trade deadline. Schefter with more here. He said, in a copycat league where teams are constantly striving to improve, general managers already have begun exploring additional trades. And based on recent years, there could be at least another dozen to come, according to league sources. Now, I mean, the NFL trade deadline has kind of become like the NBA and the Major League Baseball trade deadline as well. There's a ton more action that in the past 4 or 5 years than we've seen really ever in an NFL trade deadline history. So expect the Bills to be one of those 24 teams involved, or 24 trade partners involved here. Schefter's anticipating at least a dozen more. Well, it takes two to tango here. I expect Buffalo to be in the mix there. We're going to break down who those players could be coming to the 716 in a moment, but I got to ask you guys first. What's the biggest trade need for the Buffalo Bills? Is it wide receiver? Drop a WR in the comment section if you think so. If it's cornerback and you just can't stand to see Trey White back there at CB2, drop a CB. And if it's safety, because, that's pretty brutal as well, drop an S in the comment section. What's the biggest Bills trade need? Let's drive right into it, man. Wide receiver, we're starting there first. Schefter trade targets. Number 1, Chris Olave, the name that's been flying around Buffalo Bills trade rumors for the past week or so, as we've seen pretty brutal play on the boundary from Buffalo's wide receiver core. Chris Olave would fix a lot of those issues, man. He can catch and run with the ball in his hands on short routes. He's great in the intermediate route running as well, and he can take the top off of the defense. There really aren't a lot of holes in Chris Olave's game, but we do know that there are some drawbacks to his game. There are a little bit of concussion history for him here, and that would make a lot of teams wary, especially a Bills team that's trying to win the Super Bowl. If a guy like Olave were to go down, then they'd be wasting high-priority draft pick. I would presume something around the 3rd-round draft pick for virtually nothing at that point. Now, Olave is on a contract, his 5th-year option the next season, so that could be enticing for Buffalo as well. I'd be all over making a trade for Olave if it costs a 3rd-round pick. Go do it, Brandon Beane, if it's out there. If it's not, though, what about Rashid Shaheed, the speed Shaheed, his teammate there, down in the Big Easy? I actually, I'm going to put my sword in the stone here and say that this is the player, if I had to guess, that Buffalo would make a trade on. I think it's going to be Rashid Shaheed, a true field stretcher. Doesn't have the widest route tree or anything like that, but the way that this guy can get vertical and take the top off of the defense, it will actually trickle down to the rest of the wide receiver core and make the rest of the offense look a lot more pretty. Guys will get schemed open a little bit more because they have to worry about Rashid Shaheed taking the top off and Josh Allen's cannon arm. I'm all over a guy like Rashid Shaheed coming to Buffalo here. 27 years old on a 1-year deal, would not cost nearly as much as Chris Olave. Adam Schefter has him on his list as a potential trade target here, as New Orleans could be sellers. Talking about the Vegas Raiders now. Jakobi Meyers, a name who's been in trade rumors basically since before the season began, when he requested a trade out of the newly regimed Raiders there with Pete Carroll at the helm. Look, man, Jakobi Meyers, as good of a route runner as it gets, as good of a true number 2 receiver in the league as it gets, but I think just with the situation that Buffalo's in right now, they just need another guy out there on the boundary. They operate with a everybody eats mentality. Well, Jakobi Meyers could be one of those guys who is involved with the everybody eats, but also kind of evolves over to that nearly 1,000-yard trajectory of production for Buffalo. I love Jakobi Meyers. It wouldn't cost nearly as much as Shaheed or Olave here. So if it's got to be a 4th-round pick max, I'd be all over bringing Jakobi Meyers to Buffalo because, man, this receiver core needs it bad. I mean, not only are Keon Coleman and others not able to separate along the boundary, but Josh Palmer is injured now, and it's a week-to-week injury. He was just getting on the right track with Josh Allen there at the beginning of that Falcons game. Now he goes down with a high ankle sprain, and probably will not be available, at least for the Bills' next matchup against the Carolina Panthers, who are a pretty feisty team right now at this point. They run the ball really well. Buffalo could be in due for a trap out of the bye there. Look, man, it would be absolute malpractice if Buffalo goes into the playoffs, because they are going to make the playoffs. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I know the Bills lost 2 games in a row. They're going to make the playoffs. But if they go into the playoffs with that receiver core, curtains. Done. You play Kansas City, you're getting beat again. So Brandon Beane knows he has to go out there and improve this roster, and I think the biggest priority via trade is going to be at the wide receiver position. Now, Schefter listed a couple other names out there on the block right now, but I'm not really entertaining any of these 3 names. I mean, these guys would just be, I guess, just fitting right in, sneaking right into this Bills receiving core and looking like everybody else. Allen Lazard, I mean, what are we doing? Is this 2021? Tyler Lockett, what are we doing? Is this 2019? And then Brandin Cooks, what are we doing? Is this 2017? Like, come on, guys. Like, we're not trying to go out there and pinch pennies when it comes to giving Josh Allen a bona fide weapon on the boundary. These guys don't fit the bill. Olave, Shaheed, Meyers, I'm all in on any of those guys. I would be in on Jerry Jeudy or Jalen Waddle as well, but Schefter didn't mention those two. We got more targets to talk about coming in from Schefter here on the defensive side of the ball because, yeah, there's holes in that area as well for Buffalo. That around the corner. First, I got to tell you guys about our sponsor, as this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid and gets up to 2,000 times your money watching your Buffalo Bills in one single daily fantasy sports lineup because it's daily fantasy made easy. All you guys got to do is pick a lineup of 2 to 6 players and just pick more or less on their projected stats. But that's not it, though. There's tons of apps that go out there and offer that. Prize Picks is the best because they offer the best features like stacks. If you wanted to throw Josh Allen passing yards, Josh Allen rushing yards, and Josh Allen touchdowns all in the same lineup, you can do that only on Prize Picks. They also offer max discounts with those slash projections by 99%. And if you think I'm talking gibberish to you right now, how about I show you what I have for Week 7 action? Yes, the Bills are not playing, but don't worry, football is still out there on the gridiron. I got Dak Prescott more on his passing yards. I got Jakobi Meyers, Bill more on his rushing yards. And then Jaden Daniel more on his pass plus rush yards. You could tail my picks or you could fade them. Just do it at Prize Picks. And for new users, you're getting hooked up. When you use our promo code CLNS, you get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. So download the app today, use the code CLNS, and get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Moving on to the defensive side of the ball now. Riq Woolen, I mean, we're going to keep talking about him until he is traded here because it looks like that's the direction that the Seattle Seahawks here are going. He's been trending downward, to be honest with you guys, ever since his stellar rookie season where he came runner-up to Rookie of the Year defensively to Sauce Gardner. But I think a change of scenery could be needed here for Woolen. An absolute freak athlete. 6'4", 210, runs a 4.3 40, and it's really interesting how he's kind of fallen apart in Seattle for the most part. Had great instincts, but I don't think he trusts himself in that system too often. Originally came in as a zone corner. They tried to make him a man corner, and maybe that's where his downfall really arose. How about we bring him to a zone scheme up in Buffalo and see what he can do with that elite speed and size? What about Roger McCreary here? Now, a player who I don't know all too much about, definitely has way more production so far this season than Riq Woolen. But the issue with trading for McCreary here, who is 25 years old, has 2 PBUs, has an interception. You guys have seen that grid about the Bills making plays on the football defensively. Oh, my God, it's absolutely disgusting compared to previous years. Roger McCreary does just that, but he is primarily a nickel cornerback. He's pretty small, 5'11", 190. Like, they have Taron Johnson there. You could argue the Bills' best performing defensive back so far this season. Are you really going to make a trade for a guy who's getting into that spot? He really can't play on the boundary all too much. He's a great player, but I'm not so sure he would fit Buffalo's archetype or their needs at this point. What about the safety spot, though, where we talk about Kyle Duggar? Look, man, I think Kyle Duggar is a great player, but the issue with him is that he costs a whole heck of a lot of money. If we think about those receivers who were on some shorter-term contract, Kyle Duggar just signed an extension. So the receivers that are on some of these shorter-term contracts, the way that you trade for them is you take on their base salary and their roster bonus. And for a lot of those guys, especially Shaheed and Meyers and Olave, those guys have pretty low numbers of those two combined. So the Bills will be able to make a deal like that. If you combine roster bonus and base salary for Kyle Duggar, you get close to $10 million, which would be really, really difficult for the Buffalo Bills to go out there and move money around to open up to sign him or to absorb in a trade. So I don't think it's all too likely here that Duggar will be coming to Buffalo, but, man, it would be awesome if we could see somebody else not named Taylor Rapp at that safety spot. Last name up from Schefter here, Tony Adams at the safety spot. And, guys, I'm not in on bringing Tony Adams to Buffalo here. We watched him against the Bills in Week 2. Was not good. I was talking to big-time Jets guy here, Dylan Sommer at Chat Sports, and he was like, this is the worst safety in the National Football League. There's probably a good reason why he's on the trade block here per Schefter. Wouldn't be all too interested. And honestly, guys, I really only believe that the Bills can make maybe one trade this deadline season, and I don't think they would use it eventually on Tony Adams. I think they would go receiver. So with that being said, name a player that you would want the Buffalo Bills to trade for here as the trade deadline approaches. Who's your guy? Is it a receiver? Is it a corner? Is it a safety? Or is it some other position that you think the Bills can improve upon as well? Name that guy down in the comments section. And make sure you guys give me a follow over on Twitter at Tyler J. Smith, 2 H's, because the name's common, but I am not. And one more time, subscribe to the channel as well. We're trying to gain the most subs we've ever gained on a video here with 59 subs. Can we get 60 on here? If you love the Bills and you want free content, this is the place for you. Subscribe, turn your notifications on. We'll see you guys in the next video. And as always, let's go, Buffalo.